we were discussing on where to look for a wall to use for this project, we asked UMSU for a space in university because it was the most convenient for us. Our group worked inside UMSU banner painting, room number 183.
This wall was the only option available and is a temporary location. With this example, it will have only been up for a couple of days completed. One negative aspect of the project as a whole, due to situational factors, is how the context changes had it been a permanent work in a different environment. Its meaning would have been exaggerated. Creating the project and knowing that only a very limited number of people will have seen it in person takes away from it artistically. Again, the phrase "owning the space" comes to mind.
In Babylonian and Persian culture, peacocks are seen as guardians of royalty. With this idea in mind, we thought that the peacocks represent elegance and individuality. Peacocks have their own sense of confidence, and we wanted to incorporate that to our work.
We underestimated the amount of space that we had to work with. We had to modify the original drawing because the initial ideas didn't connect to the rest of the piece. Once those changes were made, it all came together. When each doily was placed together, it created something very elegant and wholesome and flowed into its tale.
After choosing our color scheme, white and gray, we wanted to keep the simplicity of having only the two colors for the design and still make the design pop out.
Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond.
As well as using the doily paper on projector to create the illusion of 3 more fans.
When we finished, none of us expected it to turn out this way. By adding each crane, cone, feather, doily, etc., we created something amazing and unexpected and surprising as well.
As one of the tail patterns for the peacock. One of our members was very familiar in making cranes, and he thought that using this particular technique would define him as a
So adding the shadow and light effect to our design defined the details of the paper, made sense of the texture, and showed the depth of the 3-dimension effect of the different layers of paper. The group was amazed and satisfied with the final effect using Christmas lights hidden behind the paper, and the shadows produced using different light angles.
The material used for our design is mostly paper and a few pieces of feathers. The variety of the paper we used ranges from baking cups, doilies or lace paper, tissue paper. We also use Christmas lights for illumination. The use of origami, specifically in cranes, were used as one of the patterns for our peacock.
Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond.
The actual first steps we took into making the project started with several trials that made us modify the design we created. First, we faced the wall with quite a surprise, and we weren't expecting drawings, signatures, and expressive personal messages everywhere. We tried covering the wall using primer paint, but even after 2 layers, the primitive drawings were still obvious. Second, we realized that the concrete walls had a lot of holes, and even applying more paint would not cover up the holes. We thought about covering over it with a gray colored vinyl attached to 2 pieces of wood. But the problem with that occurred with the cloth hanging down because it was too heavy. We had difficulty mounting the wooden frame, so we went with a different plan. We asked permission from UMSU to use their banners, and so we built our wall. Moreover, we changed the concrete wall and chose the dry wall instead.
We were stuck when it came to hiding the gray space between the feathers. That's when we decided to use tissue paper and cupcake cups, which added texture and make a cone pop up. It helped to connect the body and feathers.
Multiple uses of paper, i.e. crumpling, folding, layering, etc., represents the idea that many forms in existence may stem from a single common material. In other words, though we are all human, we have the freedom to express ourselves however we please. This relates to the peacock in the sense that we all strive to stand out in the crowd, and that no two people are truly identical. Manipulating the paper as we did best represents the way each individual claims a space as their own. Each piece that is added to the overall design represents each member's unique style. A member of ours who was responsible for the peacock's neck and head used crumpled paper to showcase a subtle texture that reflected their general silent nature.
The final project has a simplistic beauty, and form is key. The art's flowing lines, details, many textures, and pure white color is a stark difference to many of the postmodern works seen today that use geometric shapes and primary colors. In general, the group's main focus throughout the design process was the attention to details and the overall shape of the peacock. Each individual had their own ideas and concepts, which were suggested to the group and then bounced around until a final approach that satisfied everybody was agreed upon. The open-mindedness of the group really did allow for the finalized three-dimensional mural to have a complete look to it.
Some tags, only got $20 in my pocket. I'm hunting, looking for a come up. This is muscle.
Now, walk into the club like, what up? I got a big. I'm just pumped. I bought some shit from a thrift shop. Ice on the fringe is so damn frosty. The people like,
damn, that's a cold side honky.
Rolling in hella deep, headed to the mezzanine. Dressed in all pink, set my gator shoes. Those are green draped in a leopard mink. Girl standing next to me. Probably should have washed this. Smells like R. Kelly sheets. Piss.